So I'm joined by the next competitor that we're having on the show, competing at Trial by Combat in a few weeks in Philadelphia. Sam, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on.
So are you getting excited? We're a few weeks away at the time of this recording. Are you getting pumped to come to Philly?
Very excited. I've never been to Philadelphia, and from what I've heard, it could be the best city in the world. So I'm really pumped. It's going to be fun, and also just the opportunity to do mock trial more over the summer. It'll be good.
Uh, I stopped listening after you said best city in the world because it is the best city in the world. You're right. Forget what Murray and Travis and Charlie Stock said the last time they were on. It's a great food city. It's a great city in general, and I'm looking forward to hosting you, Sam. Uh, so I want to talk a little bit about combat in a second, but before we do, did you watch the plan?
Yes, I watched a few of the play rounds. I didn't watch every minute of every round, but I did watch a few of those rounds.
What'd you think?
It was awesome. I mean, I think that the case was great. The competitors were fantastic. It was fun to see a high level mock trial broadcasted. Um, yeah, it was a very fun experience. I know my team did sort of like a team event that day, team bonding. And around the middle of the day, we were talking about, what we thought of the previous rounds, how we thought the next rounds were going to go, what we thought of the case. More mock trial for me is always a good thing.
What do you think of Michael and Ben? Are you disappointed that they won because now you've got to face them? How do you size them up?
They're scary. They're really, really, really good. I've never seen either of them compete before, and I've heard about them and heard that they're really good. But I mean, the tape speaks for itself. They are really fantastic, and I know even beyond them, everyone who competed in that tournament were extraordinary competitors. And for Michael and Ben to sort of come out of it, they're scary.
So we are a few weeks away from combat at the time of this recording. What are you doing to prep?
A few schools are organizing a scrimmage to try and sort of simulate the experience and get a sense of how to divvy up prep time and responsibility in the lead up to the 24-hour turnaround. And that's the biggest thing I'm going to do. We'll also talk about how to approach witnessing and, what works for my style best. But the scrimmage and then sort of also laying out, you know, the best way to do something that I'm a little more uncomfortable with will be the biggest sort of hurdle.
So your second chair is Ali Alekri, who was the advocate last year at this event, and you were his second chair, right?
Yes.
So obviously Chicago, really deep program, has had a lot of success over the last couple of years. And it's one of the programs in the country that I think has a couple of people that could compete at this event. And obviously Ali did compete at this event last year. Was there any discussion or how much discussion was there within Chicago's program about who was going to apply, who was going to go if Chicago, uh, was going to get an invitation, who that person was going to be? Did you guys have any internal discussion amongst the competitors as to who is going to apply and try to get that spot?
Yeah. The people who were sort of at the right age range to do trial by combat and experience level, we chatted amongst ourselves. Some people didn't want to do it for work reasons or time reasons. And Ali and I talked about, who it would make sense to go this year. And I love Ali. He is an extraordinary person. But we both agreed that this year it would make more sense for me to compete as the advocate and for him as the second chair, and for this to be sort of our last send off together. Both because he doesn't know for sure whether he's going to continue with mock trial in the future, and trial by combat's a great experience sort of to harden yourself as a competitor. And also, last year we did it one way, and this year we want to switch it up and see what happens when we take on the different role.
So how clear was it once you and Ali sat them to talk? Was it obvious that you guys were going to have these roles? Was there like sort of a back and forth?
I think it was pretty clear. If Chicago was going to send a competitor this year, I think Ali did not want it to be him. He wanted to come back in a more advisory role and sort of cultivate the next era. So there was no hard feelings or anything like that.
What are you guys going to do differently this year?
Mm. Well, for starters, I think Ali and I have extremely different styles when it comes to mock trial, and that changes how we're going to do prep time. Last year, a lot of time was put into sort of our coach, me and Ali brainstorming one-liners or good lines for Ali to sort of uh, shoot at the jury. This year, it'll probably be more coming up with theory and structure early on and planning more the arguments I want to make and how to present them in a very structured format. I think that I usually like a little bit more of scaffolding around what I do than Ali. So I think the prep time will be different. And Ali's also much better at witnessing than me. So we'll have to spend some more time thinking about the best way to do that.
So, do you have any guesses on the case topic? And if you guess right, I'll tell you.
Really? Okay,
Yeah.
that's um okay. I think my guess is that it's going to be based off of the murder trial of the South Carolina lawyer, the Murdoch trial. My guess it'll be a spin on that.
So I said that I would tell you if you were right. I didn't say that I would tell you now if you were right.
Okay.
So you have to wait until you get to Philly to find out. But
Okay.
that's a good guess. It's also possible that we like that topic more than what we have, and we throw out our case now and just start over. Possible.
There's more where that came from. I really have my two pitches for case topics are art forgery, and then someday I want to see like an insanity trial. Like somebody pleads insanity. I don't know how it would work, but I think it would be a meaty topic.
So we did Insanity for Battle of the Experts in 2020,
Really?
which is the invitational that um, Drexel Law hosts, and the case topic was based on the Timothy Jones trial.
Okay, I'm
Uh,
not familiar.
it was it's a case that a murder trial in that was tried in the state of South Carolina, where a man was accused of murdering I think multiple of his children, and for our case at that time we had partnered with Drexel's medical school to have medical students come in and play the medical experts for both sides on the insanity defense. So obviously, one expert saying he's competent and sane, and the defendant's expert saying he's not, with real doctors playing those roles. And it was really cool. It was really
Yeah,
fun.
that's awesome.
And I was not the director of the program at that time, but I was an author on the case, and I got to write the expert reports, and that was a lot of fun writing the doing all that research and figuring out how those experts testify. So that's a long way of saying it's been done, Sam, and it's been done well by me.
Okay.
But maybe we'll
Maybe
do it
maybe
again.
yeah, we'll see. Part of my pitch for this is also that um I personally am a big fan of like crime fiction and true crime, and I would love to see like a cult or a serial killer case, but I know that given the constraints of mock trial, it's really hard to do unless the issue isn't, criminal guilt, whether it's like a question of insanity. And so that's what I tell my coach when he says that it's impossible to do, but we'll see. Maybe
Okay,
someday.
we'll keep that in mind, and if that ends up being the case topic on June 23rd, then maybe you just had a good idea and we
Yeah,
stole it.
we'll see.
So another question for you: any chance you will change the first two letters of your last name to PH before the tournament?
I would give it a 50-50 chance. We'll see. It either happens or it doesn't. I don't know.
I mean, you're in Philadelphia. My name is Phil. It really can't hurt.
That's true. I mean, I feel like your trademark is the PH though, and I don't want to step on your toes.
Well, you're not stepping on my toes. That's okay. I'll
Okay.
even pay for you to do it. I don't know what it costs, but I'm assuming
Ooh.
it costs something.
Okay. Um, I mean, make me an offer and we'll we'll see what
All right,
happens.
we'll talk offline.
Yeah.
Do you remember us meeting at Gladiator in 2019?
Did you judge me or did we just meet?
So I was there. I was like on the host team, and I'm sure I judged some rounds. I don't remember watching you compete though. I remember meeting. I think I remember meeting you.
Okay. I think I remember meeting you. I don't think I remember you judging me. Um, that was a fun tournament. I met a lot of people there who still compete in AMTA.
Yeah,
Um,
Justin will be my witness. I was in the tab room with Justin and Tom Shear, and I remember saying to Tom repeatedly that weekend, I think this Sam Farnsworth guy is going to win. Um, I don't know why I thought that because I hadn't met you and I hadn't seen you do anything. But I had a good feeling. And
I'm sorry to let you down.
well, you didn't win, but you've gone on to have a pretty stellar career since. So I was
Uh,
right to some degree.
yeah, that was fun. I also my final round, I hit somebody who never ended up doing trial by combat, but did have a lot of success in college, David Bainbridge.
Yeah.
Um, he was really good. And I knew that I sort of knew his school from other high school competitions and getting to sort of see him do mock trial in a way that I hadn't seen before. Like my high school didn't really have coaches. We were kind of bumbling around and he did mock trial at a level that was, extremely high. And that really changed the way that I thought about mock trial. And I don't know if he's even going to watch this or what he's up to, but if he is, thank you, David.
Of course he's watching. This is
Yeah,
WatchMock.
what am I saying? What am I saying?
Thousands of viewers. Do you know who I am, Sam? Do you know who I am?
I forgot. I forgot who I was talking to for a second. I'm sure he's tuning in.
Uh, so people have turned off this video already. So do you have any plans to do anything fun in Philly while you're
Mm.
here?
I want to get a Philly cheesesteak. I've never
Okay.
had cheesesteak before, and Ali and we got to try one. I also know that we have some people who are in the area, and we're gonna try to have dinner with them too. Um, do you have recommendations?
Yeah, I'm so glad you asked. So first of all, I have lots of restaurant recommendations. And I said this on the show, and to Murray and Travis and Charlie, and I'll say it again. Philly is the best food city in America. I've been to a lot of cities for work and for mock, obviously, and it's not a close call, Sam. I'm telling you. So whatever you like, we've got it. And if you like Italian food, there's no city better than Philly. But whatever you like, there's tons of different restaurants. But you asked about cheesesteaks, and I'll give you my cheesesteak take. As someone who's lived in Philadelphia my entire life, and I'm sure people that are watching this who are from the area are going to be very mad when I say this. Um, Now, Pats and Geno's are the ones you see on the TV shows and like are the stereotypical Philly cheesesteak places. Um, Geno's is the best cheesesteak place in Philly. And I
Okay.
know people are going to say that's wrong and that I'm crazy and that I don't know what I'm talking about. I've had them all, Sam, and Geno's is the best place. It's tasty. They cut their meat a certain way and it's different than the other places. It's not like a soggy sandwich. It's like a nice um like not disgusting sandwich, but like very good. And the fries are good. Some like it's just great. But I would recommend you go to Geno's. It's like kind of touristy, which is nice if you're visiting the city, but it's also just really good. So that is my recommendations. Geno's, which is about a 10-minute Uber from the hotel and from the Kline Institute where the trials are. That's my recommendation.
Okay. I'll check it out. Are you a 76ers fan?
Big Sixers fan.
Well, I'm very sorry for everything you're going through
Uh,
lately.
I'm happy to turn this into a Sixers podcast. Are you a Sixers fan?
No.
You just you just wanted to ask me and just turn the knife a little bit.
Yeah, I wanted to plunge it a little deeper. I mean, I'm a Texas sports fan, and we have not had a lot of success this year. Uh, I don't know what I'm saying. I don't mind the Sixers, but I thought what happened was a little heartbreaking. Um,
Uh, it was, and it's so Philadelphia. It hurts that would
hmm,
happen. Man, I have so much I could say. I have so much I could say.
After the podcast.
But I'll just say it was devastating. They ruined Father's Day for me a couple of years ago when they lost to the Hawks in Game 7, and they ruined Mother's Day this year. And I just, it's one of those things that sort of shakes you to the core. Like the process was like something. It's like sports, the thing that I believed in the most, I would say, like in my sports life. I'm a big sports fan. Like I love Philly sports, huge Phillies fan, huge Eagles fan, pretty big Flyers fan too. But the process was like the thing that I just like, I was there from the beginning and I believed in it so much. And I fought with total strangers about it and like whether it like the morality of it and whether it makes sense. And them losing to the Celtics felt like that I've lost that argument once and for all. And it was just devastating. I care more about Joel Embiid than I care about some members of my family.
You got the MVP. That's something.
Yeah, but here's the thing, Sam. Like now, everyone's like, "Oh, this is a fake MVP because Jokic is
That's
playing better than him
true.
in the playoffs." Like it doesn't even. It's like so typical Philadelphia sports for our player to get the MVP and it'd be like the most meaningless MVP, like immediately.
Yeah.
Um,
Uh, it wasn't a great look, but Harden showed up.
no, he didn't.
Yeah, he won you 2 games.
He was terrible in the other five.
I feel like all you can ask from a player is to win 2 games. But okay, that's fair. That's
Sam,
fair.
Sam, if you get 2 check marks convincingly at the combat and you get buried on the other five, are you going to be happy with that?
Ooh, that's a good argument. I don't
Yeah,
know
he
how
was
I feel.
horrible, and I'm just dreading the day that the news breaks that the Sixers have signed him to a max contract for 4 years. Um, he he's a loser. They'll never win with them, and they need to not sign him desperately.
Wait, the games that he won, I feel like he played a very critical role in making it happen.
But the games that we lost, he didn't even try.
Okay, I mean,
If you told me that we were going to sign a player who was going to win us 2 games in a series, but the other five was going to be arguably the biggest reason we lose, I would never sign that player. You have to win four.
you think he was the biggest reason you lost in the games?
Sam, he was.
Are you a Harden hater?
I know I'm not a Harden hater. I was excited that they traded for him. I thought it was the right move at the time, and I was excited that he was here. And it's like anything else in sports. Like when you see a player every day up close, you see their flaws very closely. And he is not even a third of the player he was 5 years ago, and he wasn't even that good then.
Okay, now we're talking
Well,
slander.
are you a Harden fan?
Yeah, I'm a Texas
Are
sports
you a
fan.
Rockets fan?
Yeah,
Oh, so you can have him. He's going to probably go back, and he's
we'll
yours.
take him. I believe
I'll drive him to the airport, Sam. I will personally drive him to the airport.
far away. Listen, when he comes back and we beat you in the playoffs and Harden drops 40 points,
Man,
I see what the Philly fans don't.
Sam, I'll make you a deal. If James Harden in Houston ever beats the Sixers in a playoff series and scores 40 points in any playoff game against them, for the Rockets, I will fly to whatever city you're living in at the time and take you out to a nice steak dinner at the nicest steakhouse in that city.
Okay. I
I
mean, I
will.
don't we'll see what happens. Listen, I can't guarantee what he'll do during the other 5 games, but evidence suggests in 2 games he'll do amazing things.
Well, now I'm angry, and you've ruined my night, Sam. Thanks. Now you've made me mad. But it's
I'm sorry.
okay. It's okay. Um, well, I'm super excited to see you in Philly. This started off really well. You were like, you complimented Philadelphia and me, and then it just devolved into
Downhill quick.
yeah. That's okay. Well, look, if you change your name to Farnsworth with a PH, then all's well that ends well, right?
Okay. I'll consider it.
You're looking forward to Philly. When are you guys flying in?
That Thursday. I'm starting work that week, and so it'll need to be a little bit of a quick turnaround, but it'll be good.
Where are you working?
I'm working at the public defender's office in New Orleans as
Nice.
an investigative intern. Yeah,
Is that
I'm
is
excited.
is that what you think you want to do? Maybe you be a public defender someday?
I have no idea. I'm just kind of trying to taste test different parts of law and see what fits best or tastes best. I know I want to go to law school, but I don't know when, and I don't know what I want to do after. And that's what I'm going to try to figure out this summer.
You got plenty of time, and it's good that you're trying something before you get there.
Yeah.
But that's awesome. Last question, Sam, as someone who I know is an avid watcher of the show and a friend of the show, uh, you know how we do this and how we end these segments. It's prediction time,
Okay.
and it's time to make your prediction for who you think is going to win Trial by Combat 2023. And the only rule is you may not pick yourself. Actually, you can pick yourself. You think you're going to win? Go
I
for
mean,
it.
I will not pick myself, but I think it would be funny. I think you should start giving people the option to do that.
Yeah, yeah. We'll make.
That's-
We're going to change that starting now. You can pick yourself.
Okay. I think there are a lot of great competitors. I could see many people winning, and I would not be surprised. If I was going to place money on someone right now, and I want to, and I also I'm gonna limit myself a little bit more. I'm gonna pick someone who I don't think I've heard picked. I could be wrong.
Okay.
Um, but I think Rhea Debnoth could pull it out. I hit
Interesting.
her. I've hit her a few times now, actually, and she's really fantastic. And I mean, I have other people who I think could do it, but she's really, really good. Um,
Yeah, I think confidence and intimidation factor are real things at these events, and the fact that she just won the national championship and
yeah,
and obviously and was a big part of it, not just like was there for the ride, and she was the one of the stars of the round. So,
she's
um,
very good.
I I think that is as good of a pick as any, and that would not surprise me even a little. This it's a really good feel. It feels like this year, um, there is a lot of people who can win. Like
Yeah,
like
I think that's
almost,
true.
I think just about the entire field has a chance to win this. I mean, every year I think everyone is really good and everyone can win, but it feels like in years past there were sort of these handful of people or like the seniors who've been here before with lots of experience, and we have a younger group of people and people with less experience in this person, whatever. I don't feel that way about this year. This is like a group that's very bunched up, I think.
Yeah. And I mean, I think there are people who the mock trial community would consider favorites, like Travis, I mean, Murray, people who did very well at Trial by Combat last year and are coming back. But I believe in the new class, the scrappy people who want to show the returners what's up. But I of course think Murray and Travis are fantastic competitors and would not be surprised at all to see them in the final round.
Yeah,
Uh,
definitely not. They're going to have huge targets on their back,
yes, I think that's true.
but like I said, with respect to Rhea, intimidation factor is real. And
Mm,
that I would guess most people are saying, I don't want to play Murray and Travis ever, but certainly
yeah,
not early on. Um, and so that matters. And I think that they have a big psychological advantage for that reason.
I think it's true. Um, Maybe this will have to be part of the prep, is some sort of self affirmation. Uh, but everyone there's fantastic. I've hit most of the competitors in a round, and I've been blown away every time.
Yeah. And obviously I've gotten to see all of these people on video, and it's amazing that we have this depth of competitor that is coming to this event. And I think it's anyone's game, really.
Okay. Yes, I agree. I'll also mention one more thing about Rhea. Um, UCLA has sort of been the thorn in Chicago's side for a while now. Uh, so I was on a rookie rumble team with Charlie Stock, who is also fantastic and would not be surprised to see him win. And round three, we're in the high round against UCLA, and they sweep us. And then the same thing happened at Nats. And Rhea has been a critical part of both things happening both times. Um, So maybe this will be. It could happen again, but maybe we'll gear up for a rematch.
Third time's the charm.
Yeah, we'll see. But
So you want Rhea? You want Rhea in round one?
it depends what you mean by want. I think I'd be excited. I'm not gonna psych myself out. I think she's a fantastic competitor and she is my winner pick, but it would be a really fun round. I mean, we also love hitting UCLA. Those rounds are always a blast. Um, so it would be a great round. I would be excited to hit a round one. I'll leave it there.
Ooh. Okay.
Well, you just talked about how people have big psychological advantages, and I don't want to
Yeah, but
reveal any.
maybe you're like, she's like, Rhea's listening to this and she's like, I don't know what Sam has for me. Like, I don't want to, I don't know what he's got planned, but I don't want any part of it. That's how I may feel if I were watching this. So maybe like you're trying to like reverse psych
There you
her
go.
out.
Yes, that's what I'm doing.
That's why you're Farnsworth with a PH.
Yeah, I'm a few steps ahead, few with the PH too.
Well, I said I was going to keep you for 10 minutes, and here we are 40 minutes later. Sam, it was
Yeah, I thought you were gonna ask like who's my favorite mocker of all time. I have answers prepared for all the usual questions.
okay. I'll ask you right now.
Okay,
Sam, who's your favorite mocker of all time?
fantastic question. Um, okay, so I think when you ask this, I always feel like people need to distinguish between the person that will score the best on average and
Okay.
the person who I would score the best if I were judging. Because the person who I don't think those are the same people. Like I really like Ali Alekri, and he is the person who all time I would score the highest. He does stuff that I can't get enough of.
Yeah.
But I think like Sydney Gaskins, people who are, renowned are people who are probably going to score better in front of a judge. I hit her my first year and she destroyed us. That was sort of a welcome to the NBA, welcome to mock trial moment. Um, okay, but the person I picked for that category is Jonathan Hartsfield. I don't think he gets enough credit. He's really good and very fun to watch.
I'm not your favorite mocker of all time. Sam, you're digging the hole even deeper.
I'll let that hang.
You're playing Travis every round at combat.
Okay.
It's you
Look
versus
at me.
Travis.
I'm not gonna. Okay.
I've just made the pairings. It's Sam versus Travis every single round, and he gets to pick his side.
Okay, wonderful. I'm excited. I,
Um,
s- I got to watch him in the semifinal last year. And that was the first time I saw him at tourney. And I think people have reason to be scared. He's really, really good.
he is, and he's someone you competed against. Maybe not against, but you were in the same tournament at Gladiator, right? In 19.
Yeah, that's true. David Bainbridge witnessed against him in the final rounds.
Right. Yes. Elena Young, also
Yeah, true.
really comes full circle. Makes me feel very old. You guys were all high schoolers at that time, and here we are. You guys are about to
Everyone's growing
graduate
up.
college. Looking forward to seeing you in Philly in a few weeks and continuing our scrimming match about the Sixers.
Yeah, I'm sure people enjoyed the NBA talk this turned into. But
That,
thank you for having me on.
yeah, that's what they tune in for, Sam. The NBA analysis. They don't tune in for the mock trial.
Yes,
I'll see you in a few weeks.
sounds good.
Now we're gonna watch. We're gonna fast forward to your second year of law school, and I want to just talk about Top Gun for a second. I think before the two of you competed, Top Gun wasn't as sort of mainstream as it now is, and it's now like the tournament. How did you guys know about Top Gun? How did you guys get into the tournament from two law schools that really aren't big trial advocacy schools? Tell us the backstory behind that.
So I knew about the tournament because the guy who had competed at UVA had a meet to like another absolute all-time hit. When he was at Yale, he had competed at Top Gun, and just said it was like the mile nerds paradise, which it really is. So I knew about the tournament that way. We had gotten invited my 1L year after we won Thailand Nationals, and I went as like the second chair to JJ Snyder, who I mentioned before. And that was just like seeing it in person. I was like, oh man, I'm just desperate to get back here and actually compete myself. And I'm, both of us are really lucky that we had the chance to do it twice, because I don't think that really, I don't think that happens for most people. Like, I think it's sort of a one and done year, 3L year. You get to try once, and thank God I got to try twice in particular, because the first time didn't go so hot.
Yeah, I think very similarly. I knew someone who competed, Marissa Oxman, who was, such an important person in my mock trial career. She was a senior when I was a freshman, and she competed at Top Gun when I was a junior in undergrad. And so I talked to her, and we did scrimmages for her. You don't know the case, but you kind of pick a case from years past, and we just did some practice rounds. And so I knew about the tournament. With, like Ben said, sounded exactly what a mock trial nerd dreams of. And we did not qualify, I think, for Top Gun at NYU. So I applied as a wild card. I don't know if Top Gun still has wild card spots, but they
Really?
did then. God, yeah, which is very lucky that they had it.
All the people at small law schools, thanks to you two, no more wild cards. They've I mean, I don't know if it's official, but they have not. The last wild card that I remember was my year. And I don't even know that I'd call her a wild card. She had some law school success. Lauren Lutton from Georgia, I think was maybe technically a wild card, but she also had done well in the law school circuit, so maybe not. But they really haven't done that the last 4 or 5 years.
I'm glad they had it then, because I wouldn't be on this pod today, I think. But I applied, I got in, and was thrilled to be there, because it had been a dream for a while.
Do you think it is the best tournament at any level, or do you think it's sort of in the top couple, but maybe not the best one?
Yeah, it's the best I've been at, for sure. I think I've never been at a tournament so well run, so perfect for a mock trial nerd. I think it's the dedication to making it feel authentic is unrivaled, and the level of competition.
Yeah, and just like the structure of it. The structure of it's awesome. Like, just getting the case show shortly before you're going to put it on is that's what mock trial is supposed to be, I think.
Do you guys have any? Well, first of all, this is the 2015 final. Have you guys watched it back? I think, Ben, you told me off air that you've watched bits and pieces, but not really.
Yeah, no, when I was licking my wounds after Rahul kicking my butt, I watched parts of this to just confirm that he had whooped me as solid as I thought he had. And in real time, and watching it back, I felt the same. So
I think all I've really seen is the closing from this one. I don't know if I've seen any more of it.
So this case is a murder for hire case. Basically, the fact pattern is wife catches husband with his having an affair with his younger teaching assistant, hires a private investigator to follow them to get proof of the affair, and eventually, allegedly, hires him to kill her husband. The reason that that's interesting for the mock nerds out there is in 2018, the first year of trial by combat, we did Justin wrote the case. We did a murder for hire case as sort of a nod to the 2015 final. So that's where the idea for that case came from. It wasn't a coincidence. Okay, so we're now going to watch Rahul's cross-examination of the cooperating witness. But before we do, I want to set the scene a little bit here. Ben, who is that sitting next to you?
That is my sister, Ellie, who competed. She did mock trial at UD with Phil. Teammate of Phil's in college, and I think people sleep on Ellie. I think she is like one of the. I don't know. I'm a little bit biased, but I think she was awesome. She really had like a grace and presence about her that very few people I've ever seen this have. Phil, you can probably speak to that better than I can, having competed with her for so long.
People definitely sleep on Ellie. I think other than the Top Gun stuff, the thing I'm most proud of as a competitor is willing our Delaware team to nationals for the first time ever.
Yeah.
And the second time ever. And then I think the craziest thing that happened at Delaware was after I graduated and after our other teammate, Andrew Donnelly, who was an All-American, graduated, Ellie kind of willed Delaware to nationals like herself, kind of. Obviously, we have a lot of good teammates at the time, but the other two attorneys that graduated, so she sort of drug what was left of that machine to nationals, which I remember graduating and thinking like they're going to be really good, but it's going to be tough.
Yeah.
And the other thing that's cool about it is I sort of feel like watching you guys do that downtown closing, and we're going to watch this. Your styles are so different, but I sort of was exposed to both of your styles indirectly, through working with Ellie for those 3 years and then working with Justin at Drexel. So I sort of, all the things that you guys do, like I saw Ellie do that for 3 years. Justin was coaching me to do the same stuff that you do. And Ben, you guys are very similar stylistically. I don't know if you agree.
I think so. Yeah, I think yes, I do agree that Ellie and I are stylistically similar. And in part, I think that's because both Ellie and I started competing in high school where our dad coached both of us. And I think like a lot of it's just kind of stuff we picked up while competing in high school. And so did Andrew Donnelly, the third guy on your UD team, was high school teammates with Ellie as well. So that was a remarkable confluence of talent at UD that had, like, they had never been good, and I don't know how they're doing now, but I doubt that they are as successful now. It was just cool that like all that talent came together at one time.
It's a really cool thing that I feel like will get overlooked as time goes on, like that we were all there together. But I think I have this fight with people that come on the show regularly, and I think you two will be on my side within this debate. But I'll never forget this. We were on the way back from Orlando the first time we got to nationals. I was sitting with Ellie on the plane. We were sitting next to each other. And she was like, we got to get a coach. We can't do this on our own anymore. Like, we're not going to do. And I was like, what? I want to write the content with you guys. Like, I want to make all the roster decisions, like the group of us together. I don't want some adult in the room telling us what to do. And she was so right. So right, as always, Ellie was right and I was wrong, but she was so right about that. And I always think if we had like a Ryan or a Toby or a Justin or just like some adult in the room pointing us in the right direction, that we were good, but we could have been even better. And I try to tell that to the really good student run programs that come on the show, and they say the same thing that I had said to Ellie 10 years ago, which is, no, I like the little engine that could mentality that we have.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys came from heavily coached programs. Do you have a view on that?
Yeah. I mean, from my perspective, it doesn't have to be either or, right? Like I get the inclination that students who've never had a coach have towards like, oh, I'll have significantly less control and we won't be able to do things the way we want to do. Like, yeah, I think to some extent that's true. But like, as you said, both of our college programs are, sort of well known for having a lot of coaches and having excellent coaches. And even still, I felt like we had a big sphere of autonomy. Like, they cared what we thought. And, when I came to them with ideas, they were like, yeah, let's run with it and see whether it works. And sometimes it didn't. And if it didn't, they would tell me it wasn't working. And it's nice to have that gut check from somebody who knows way more than I do, telling me like, yeah, it's not going to sell. It's just not going to work.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Irvine had a wonderful coaching staff. I think they took into account the ideas we had, and I think more often than not we had bad ideas as students, but they let us experiment with them. I think going from a coach program to a student run program in law school was eye-opening, because we made a lot of I think bad decisions as law school competitors, because one, we had the freedom to just try new things, which was fun, but I think it was reflected in our success. So it is nice to have someone else in the room who's got experience to comment on the theories we were testing. So I'm a big fan of Coach.
Yeah, or how about just a real lawyer in the room to say, that's
it's not how it works.
Don't do that. You can't do that.
And ask that.
I'm like horrified at the thing, like looking at our Delaware video, like horrified at the things that, frankly, Ellie let me say. That's all it is.
Ellie was probably like spurring you on to say, again,
no, it was opposite. It was just no. And if we just had a coach, and hindsight's 2020, obviously. Now at Drexel, it is the complete opposite. It's much like your college programs in the sense that we have a full coaching staff, and just the buck stops with us. So I think that's probably better. And it's tough for the big college programs to hear that are student run, but I'm glad that you guys have come out on my side.
And what I would say to those programs is like, just give it a try. Like, you can, if you have no coach right now, you can like broker some arrangement with some local attorney that's like, not we're handing over the reins to the program for you, do what you will, but like, hey, just come in and consult a little bit. And if the relationship is working, then, like anything else, you can, opt out at that point, or you can keep going and see where it goes.
Yeah, or talk to an alum. I think from your program, a lot of unsurprisingly mock trial folks go on to actually practice, and I'm sure you can find an alum who is part of your program and understands the principles your program cares about. So we'll come into an arrangement, much like Ben suggested.
We could debate this for hours, but as the host of the show, I should probably get us onto the actual cross. All right, 3 seconds in, I'm pausing already. So we talked about Ellie. Rahul, what happened? There's nobody at the table. Did you not get the memo? Like, what's going on?
I mean, it's just the wild card thing is we didn't really have a program. I asked my roommate from law school to be my second chair. I think he was game, and then he had something personal come up. He couldn't make it. So we just decided, we'll run with it. We thought maybe it would work a little bit in my advantage. Be like, oh, we're the team without anyone else. We're kind of holding it together ourselves. I don't know if it did anything for us, but we leaned into it.
I mean, I wasn't so like, even if it did work in your advantage, like from a optical standpoint, trying to do all that work that Top Gun requires with just 2 people rather than 3 is just mind blowing to me.
Insane.
Yeah.
Credit to Justin, who is incredible with this kind of stuff.
So this is a little known fact. So I got to go to Top Gun my 2L year and my 3L year. So my 2L year, I had Ellie and I were very close at the time. And I said to her, if I get to go, I'd like to bring you. Will you go? And she said, absolutely, yes. So I actually approached the people at Drexel and said, hey, I have this former teammate that I'd really like to bring.
Yeah.
And they were like, is she a Drexel student? I was like, is she a law student? I was like, no. They're like, well, you can't do that. So Ellie was very close to coming to Top Gun again as a second chair with another school.
I feel like the people judging would have been like, who is this? Like, why? Where is she coming from? Why is she just showing up at all these places? Yeah.
I'm mercenary second chair.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Pretty much. Anyway, let's get into this.
This is Ellie giving me all my best ideas, is what's happening right now.
So right away, Rahul, you look older. You got a nice looking suit. Your haircut's a little different. Like, you can see that you've aged.
Yeah, for sure. Still didn't have my beard yet. Kind of wish I did, but a little bit older. Rare.
May I proceed?
Yes, go ahead.
Mr. Ehrman, would you consider yourself a trustworthy person?
A trustworthy person?
That's what I asked.
Well, I've been convicted of murder and I've lied to the cops. I don't know that I would say I'm the most trustworthy person. No.
All right. Well,
All right, how shocked were you by that answer?
I couldn't ask for a better answer to that question, I think. I don't know if I'd gotten a good answer all weekend to that question.
I would assume all weekend they were just kind of like, yeah, I'm trustworthy.
Basically, yeah. There was a beat maybe where they would pause and be taken aback by the question. I think it was a bold first question to ask when we wrote it. We weighed whether or not we were going to open with that question. I don't think we'd gotten something more than I would say so after a pause, and then we do the what comes next, which is, well, let's talk about that. So I think I was taken aback by the question. By the answer.
let's talk about that, Mr. Ehrman. In 2011, you were convicted for theft, right?
Yeah, that sounds right.
You stole $1,500 worth of property. Isn't that true?
I think that sounds about right.
You were convicted of a felony.
Yeah, like you just said.
All right. And after that conviction, you had your license to practice revoked, right?
Private investigator's license, yeah, it was suspended.
And you never filed to renew that license, did you?
Nope.
But you kept practicing as a private investigator.
Rahul's
Yeah.
presence here, despite like standing at the podium, really kind of cramps your style, especially as an AMTA person. But like, man, just the presence still sort of exuding off of him, even with the spatial limitations that were placed on us, is so impressive.
Yeah. So at Top Gun, I would say, would you guys say most times or all of the time the judge makes you stand at the podium at this event?
I think almost always, especially like I think that's just norm in Texas, and almost all the practitioners are Texas practitioners.
Yeah, I think over my 2 years, I got to leave the podium like maybe like once or twice over the course of those.
It's the norm now for me practicing. I think all the federal judges in our district at least mandate you to stand at the podium. I don't know, Ben, if it's the same in yours.
I'll find out soon. Yeah.
So I also think that shout out to this witness. He definitely seems like a guy who could have killed James Moody in cold blood and did it for money and just framing this poor woman. Like I definitely
The handcuffs too. It's a nice touch from the tournament coordinators.
Yeah.
Without a license.
That's true.
And you didn't tell your clients you were practicing without a license, did you?
I don't think they asked. I don't think I told them no.
Well, let's talk about the work you did in this case. Now, you said something on direct examination, and I wrote it down. You said the information you had regarding Mrs. Moody on September 9th was information you could not have known unless she told you. You said that, right?
Yeah, generally, I think
More specifically, when opposing counsel asked you if you could have known it, you said, and I quote, "I don't know how," right?
So I just pause here. The reason that you're doing this whole line of questioning is because of Ben's theme. Ben, do you remember what your theme was?
No.
Earl, do you remember what Ben's theme was?
No, I don't remember my theme either.
So, there were two really good themes. It was
Choices, right? Phil was one of them. Yeah.
It was choices. Yeah, it was choices. I don't answer questions.
Yeah.
Was it really?
No. It was she wouldn't have done it alone. She couldn't have done it alone. She didn't do it alone. And then what was the D theme? Michael Ehrman is a man who can't be trusted.
Okay, I do remember that.
And that's great marrying up your theme to the beginning of the cross, right?
Yeah. So there was a lot of questions on the direct of like, could you have known this if it wasn't for the defendant, which was really effective. And so that's why you're asking the questions like that on the cross.
sounds right, yeah.
Well, Mr. Ehrman, you just told us you're a private investigator, right?
Well, yeah, that's what I was doing. I didn't have a license.
It's your job to follow people around, right?
Yeah,
It's your job to gather information about people, right?
when that's what I'm hired to do, sure.
It's your job to figure out things about people that sometimes they don't want you to know, right?
Yeah, digging up the dirt.
Great
is something
gesture.
that a PI does, sure.
And in this case, you were hired by Mrs. Moody to follow her husband around. Isn't that true?
Yes,
When you first met her, she gave you some information about her husband. Isn't that true?
yeah.
She gave you a key to his office, right?
It's really
Yeah,
good.
she gave
So
me a
like
manual.
it's easy to overdo this, and Rahul is doing it like the perfect amount. Is connecting with the jury sort of mid-examination, and like it's even sort of mid-question. Like he'll just sort of look to the jury to like make sure they're following along in the middle of the question, then come back to the witness, which is just that's masterclass stuff right there.
Especially being at the podium, it's even harder to.
Right.
And if you like, I've been in this courtroom a bunch of times, and guys may remember, it looks big. It's actually not that big. The space between your body and the first juror is like, it's not. You're really close, so it's hard to do that and not feel on top of the jury. You do a really good job of. I agree with Ben of making eye contact and engaging.
Key to get in, the one I used there in that video.
She didn't give you that key to kill her husband, right?
At the time when she gave me the key, I don't think I could kill her husband with the key, no.
She wanted you to take pictures.
Yeah, she wanted to know if he was having an affair at first.
And you agreed to take the case, right?
Right, yeah.
But first, you talked money.
I'm sorry?
You talked about your fee, right?
I always loved that exchange. He was like, "What money? I don't know what you're talking about." You just talked about your fee.
Yes, we talked about my fee.
You asked for a $2,500 retainer. Isn't that true?
Yeah.
But that wasn't all you asked for your work.
No.
You also had a $100 an hour agreement, right?
Yeah, well, we had an agreement where I'd bill my hours and my expenses, yeah, and $100 an hour.
Well, let's talk about what it was you were doing for Mrs. Moody. You were following James Moody around, isn't that true?
Yeah,
You followed him around for 10 days, right?
something like that, yeah.
From August 20th to August 30th?
Yes,
That's 10 days.
sounds like it to me. You're pretty good at math.
You
Might be
followed him
11.
in the morning, right?
A scumbag move. totally murdered James Moody and friends.
Some days in the mornings, yeah.
When he went to work?
Sometimes he went to work pretty early. I
Followed
kind
it?
of sleep. I kind of sleep in the morning.
We believe it.
Followed him in the evening when he came home, isn't that true?
Sometimes, yeah.
Sometimes you followed him to hotels.
Yeah, you saw the picture where I followed him to a hotel with his girlfriend.
But you weren't just charging Mrs. Moody for the hours you spent, you also charged her for your expenses, isn't that true?
Again, yeah, that's what I just said.
And Mr. Ehrman, we talked about one of your felonies from 2011. You also pled guilty to a felony here in Texas, right?
The murder for hire?
The murder of James Moody.
Murder for hire, yeah, that's what I pled to.
You killed James Moody, isn't that true?
Yeah, that's what I just talked about.
On September 9th of 2014, you were in the Moody residence.
Yes.
You shot and killed James Moody
Well,
with your
let's
gun.
be real clear, though. I think it
Mr.
wasn't the
Ehrman, there
Moody
was no question
residence.
pending. You shot.
That was awesome.
I love that.
You know, I had dreamed of saying that for years. And to get the chance felt good.
To the extent that any new competitor knows what to do in that situation, it is because of this video, I would say. Like,
It's also like it's so situationally appropriate. Like you can't do that with like 99% of witnesses, but the guy who has admitted to being a murderer like 2 seconds before is the witness you can do it with.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it totally worked. And you were super indignant, but it's totally appropriate especially with the way that this guy is playing this witness. I'm sure you guys saw Ehrman's all weekend that were to varying degrees, somewhat sympathetic, I guess, remorseful, but not this guy.
Yeah, this guy's not doing me any favors, that's for sure.
Answer to
And
that
killed.
question was no.
You
Objection.
shot.
I just asked that the witness be allowed to finish a response.
Well, he's kind of being non-responsive. Go ahead and ask your question again and listen to the question being asked and then answer the question.
This is me
Shot and
trying to
killed.
do anything to break this up a little bit. any excuse to stand up.
James Ehrman.
I mean, it's good instinct though, Ben. It's the time to do it is something like that, and sometimes you have to try and break up the flow. I feel the instinct.
So we didn't really talk much about this before, but going into this trial, you guys are both undefeated. I know that because of Justin B from Los Angeles. Really, really good, big fan of the show, and he knows a lot of stuff like that. So did you guys sort of get the sense throughout the weekend that it was heading towards this final matchup? Did you guys have a sense of how the other was doing? What were you thinking about that weekend? There's a ton going on that weekend, but were you cognizant of it at all?
I mean, I hoped so. Like that, I thought that would have been like the most fun finals that we could have, and we got to do it twice, and it was really fun both times. But like, frankly, you're just like trying to stay above, even as you know, Phil, you're just trying to stay above water that whole weekend. Like you're just sort of desperately clawing to get through the next round because you're so sleep deprived and like the case is changing on you. And yeah, I hope so, but I had no expectation that we were going to get lucky like this.
We wanted it. I think, like you said, Ben, we definitely didn't want to hit you before. But this is the final we wanted. I think there were obviously incredible competitors there, but between rounds when we got our results, my first question to Justin after knowing my results was, how are Ben and Ryan doing? So we wanted it, I think, and yeah, we didn't want it until this round. So it's nice to get it, like you said, twice.
Did you make any strategy choices going into these two rounds? I guess we'll talk more about your adjustments at 16 after this, but did you make any strategy decisions in this round knowing you were facing each other?
Yeah, the only one I can really think of is the choice to go defense. I think we wanted to go defense if we played you guys, Ben. We felt we had a really good prosecution case. It's funny, I remember our prosecution theme, and I loved that theme. I loved that case. So I don't know if we would have gone defense against anyone else, but I think we wanted the opportunity to react to Ben because he's such a powerful competitor. Being able to go second and kind of adjust to how he's doing what was a strategy choice.
I don't know. I don't remember Phil making specific strategy choices going into this final. The second one, ditto. Like I think I really wanted to go prosecution in that second one, despite the fact that I thought defense had a good claim to being the better side of that case, but I wanted to go prosecution in part because I think it's just like more where my sort of natural instincts lie. I think I'm just better on that side of the case generally. And I want a little redemption for my ass kicked as prosecution this time. So
like one, maybe two form objections in this trial. Was that a conscious decision by both of you to not object to the other, understanding your opponent was probably going to sound good?
I mean, Rahul's so clean that like what am I going to object to? Like, what am I going to do? It'll sound dumb like that one just did, where I'm like, oh, please let the witness finish. Like, what am I going to object to?
Yeah,
it's the same with Ben. I mean, he runs a clean case. I like to object. I think that it's one strength I pride myself in. I think in mock trials, I thought it's a good opportunity to try and create separation. But if one, finding a chance to object against a competitor like Ben is tough, and two, even if you do, you're not going to get the low hanging fruit like hearsay or something like that. If they're running hearsay, they've thought about the exceptions, they've thought about the responses. So I think it was a really clean round from what I remember.
Your gun, isn't that true?
That's true, yes.
That's not a gun you got from Mrs. Moody.
No, I carried my Colt 45 around.
Now I want to talk about a video you saw on direct examination. You remember that video, right?
Got to be a little more specific. We showed a couple of them.
The video where you slipped an envelope under James Moody's door.
Yeah.
You told us that you got that envelope from Mrs. Moody.
Right.
So it's your testimony Mrs. Moody was holding that envelope, right?
She gave it to me, yeah.
At some point, she touched that envelope.
She gave it to me, yeah.
At some point, her fingers and fingerprints were on that envelope.
I don't know how you pull fingerprints.
Her fingers were on that envelope.
Yeah, she held it.
Your Honor, permission to approach the witness?
Yes, go ahead.
And then she handed that envelope over to you, right? If you could take this, sir. She handed that envelope
so
over
good.
to you.
That like turning the sort of I don't know, like administrative parts of the trial, like things that are unavoidable, into part of the performance is like that. That's just awesome stuff.
it was great. I would guess not many people used this witness to make the fingerprints point. Really smart, and I thought that I agree with Ben. I thought that back and forth was fun.
Isn't that true?
I think making the performance fun for you as a competitor is important too. If you're not up there enjoying it, the jury's going to tell. And I remember loving doing this part of the program.
Give me the envelope.
This is your version of what happened.
This is what happened.
All right, but this is what you told us on direct.
Yes, this is what I just said.
So now your hands are on the envelope, isn't that true?
I'm holding the envelope.
Your fingers are on the envelope, isn't that true?
Yes.
Your Honor, permission to approach and retrieve?
Yes.
Mr. Ehrman, I want to talk about what you did after you killed James Moody. You made a mess of his office, isn't that true?
Yes.
You knocked chairs over,
Yes.
kicked in a door.
Yeah, I kicked the back door in.
You wanted to make it look like a burglary.
The rhythm here by Rahul is so good. Like the witness is long-winded and like trying to slow things down, and Rahul's just like peppering short questions. As soon as the guy finishes, he's on top of the next question. That's so good.
Absolutely.
Isn't that true?
That's what Miss Moody told me to do, yeah.
You were trying to mislead the police.
I was trying to do what Mrs. Moody had hired me to do.
It's not what I asked you. You were trying to mislead the police.
great control. And this, I mean, all of your crosses both years are really good examples of witness control in the sense that you don't over control, but you show that you can do it. You do it appropriately. I thought that was a really good spot to use that technique.
Thanks. Yeah, and I mean, it took so many years to figure out how to control witnesses. I think there's a tendency to try and over police and to go directly to the big guns, in witness control. Like, I asked you this and you told me this. Let's get back to which is a great form of control, I think. But if you jump to something like that out the gate, you look like you're scared of the witness's answers, and I think that you got to build up to your witness control slow and steady. So yeah, I like this technique that I used here a lot.
Trying to do what Mrs. Moody hired me to do.
Well, it's true. You didn't want to get caught, right?
Yeah, that's true.
You fled back to Louisiana. Isn't that true?
I mean, it looks so effortless, but you're poised in that moment to the witness is not giving you the answer you want, and just to stay focused and rephrase your question in a way where you come out with a net plus. It's a minor thing, but imagine you freeze in that spot. I mean, the check mark maybe goes the other way. You lose 1/5 of the ballot just in a moment like that. I thought that was
Well,
just
it's true. You didn't want to get caught, right?
Yeah, that's true.
You fled back to Louisiana. Isn't that true?
Yes.
But you got caught.
Yes.
I want to talk about what you told the Louisiana police. When they questioned you, you told them you knocked on Mr. Moody's door, right?
I told them a story. Everything I was telling them was a lie.
All right, I want to break down exactly what your story was. You knocked on James Moody's door, right?
That's a lie. Are you asking me if I told him that? Yeah, I said that. It was a lie. All the things I said to those officers were a lie.
You said everything you told those officers was a lie?
It was a story.
You told them you shot and killed James Moody, right?
Well, that part wasn't a lie.
Okay, so some parts of the story were true, right?
That's my favorite moment from this year's trial.
It's so good. Yeah.
I've heard the backstory to that story from Justin B from Los Angeles, and so you tell it. I've heard it a lot of times, but
I don't know. I don't know what Justice told you. So maybe
this is what he tells me. Because I think he probably told me this like in lead up to Top Gun, because I had like studied this trial like game film, and I remember like telling him like I thought that was really good. And he's like, well, in the earlier rounds, the witness would say, yeah, everything was a lie, and he would just move on. And I said to him in comments, like, don't move on. Like, say to him, actually, some parts are true, right? You killed him. That happened. Okay, so let's talk about which parts were true and which parts weren't. And it's not just the words; it's the delivery on those 4 or 5 questions. It's just really good.
And it also, like, the witness is trying to insulate themselves, right? They're just like, I want to get out in front of it. Everything I said was a lie, right? Like they're trying to cut off the whole line of questioning. And then it's like, no, I'm not going to let you do that, because I'm going to highlight that you did kill him and you admitted to killing him. And that's true. And now we're going to go back and I'm going to point out the specific lies. Like, it's just a way to accordion out the line of questioning when they're trying to compress it down.
Yeah, it's an example.
Go ahead.
Going to like excellent mock trial. It's like getting from A to that is the A to A plus. It's just unbelievable.
You definitely reminded me, Phil. I'd forgotten Justin had given me that comment, but it's so true. Given that our whole theory on this side is that he can't be trusted, so going through the lies was critical. I think so. Yeah, it was nice to have the opportunity to break it down.
That's a lie. Are you asking me if I told him that? Yeah, I said that. It was a lie. All the things I said to those officers were a lie.
You said everything you told those officers was a lie?
It was a story.
You told them you shot and killed James Moody, right?
Well, that part wasn't a lie.
Okay, so some parts of the story were true, right?
That I shot and killed him, yeah, that was true.
Some parts of the story were a lie.
Yeah, I made up a self-defense story. That part was a lie.
I want to break down what parts of the story were a lie. You told the police that you sat down across from James Moody, right?
I think I said something like that, which was untrue, yeah.
It was a lie.
Right, like I just said.
You told them you talked to James Moody, right?
I think so. I said something like that again. Everything I was telling him was a lie.
So that was a lie.
Yes.
You told them James Moody said something back, right?
I don't remember saying that, but sure, again, everything I said in that interview was a lie.
Now, after you spoke to the Louisiana police,
So this
You were
is
charged
this is like I think like an A+ level mock trial skill. I think like a fine cross examination, just ask the question. So you talk to the police, and you lied to them about what happened. You told them it was self defense when it wasn't, right? Like breaking that down, realizing how important it is, and breaking it down into like the 8 questions that you can get out of it instead of the 2 questions, just so important. And that, like, I think all the best competitors do that, is they find a point they want to make and they make it 10 questions when it could be 2.
Yeah, and I think to nerd out about this particular trial for a second, I think the reason I like this cross so much in part is because if you remember, as I'm sure you both do, the rest of the trial, a lot of the trial was so technical with the forensics. And it was like, and like I've seen this trial a bunch of times, and I still don't really fully understand what you guys are talking about. Like the palm print is here, and the shell casing was over there. So if the chair's knocked over, like I don't get it.
Yeah.
So like this part like appeals to my stupid brain, which is like, oh, he lied, so he's probably lying again. So this was kind of like a breath of fresh air juxtaposed against all the other technical stuff on both sides.
I think this part, and one of my favorite parts to deliver, I think, in the trial was the cross of the expert on the prosecution. I think that it's the one thing I really remember from the round is asking him are you familiar with the phrase casing the joint?
Right.
Just being able to ask stuff like that is makes it fun, you know?
And we're not going to watch this, but Ben's redirect, I always thought was great. Or you were like, do you remember, has anyone ever cased a joint at 7 o'clock in the morning during that? And the question on the cross where you say, it tells us where he was, or it tells us where the cell tower was. Actually, it doesn't even tell us that.
Oh, yes.
And I think when Justin started Drexel, like I was one of the first things I asked him was like, was that planned? And I actually forget what he said. Was it planned?
I don't remember. It's hard. It's hard with Top Gun especially. There's so much that happens on the fly. It's hard to remember. I think in hindsight, what was planned and what was off the cuff.
Right?
Yes. Later.
You took a plea deal, right?
For the murder for hire charge, yeah.
You took a plea deal from the United States government.
Yes, like we talked about.
And they promised you.
How often does that get used on you now?
I'm thinking about that right now. So.
At least it's your understanding that for your testimony today, you would face a maximum sentence of 30 years.
You said that kind of confusingly.
I'll break it down. For your testimony today, you're no longer.
It really wasn't a confusing question at all.
It wasn't at all.
I'll take it.
Facing the death penalty, right?
If I testified truthfully, then they've agreed not to seek the death penalty. Yes.
Isn't
but I
it
think
true?
I think a judge decides that. You could tell me better than I.
Well, you said a judge decides whether or not you get the death penalty, but you know who decides whether or not you testified truthfully, right?
That'd be me.
Well, isn't it within the sole discretion of the U.S. Attorney's Office to determine whether or not you testified truthfully today?
I don't know. They know what the truth is.
Would you recognize a copy of your plea agreement if I showed it to you?
It's a bad plea deal,
Would that
man.
refresh your memory?
No, I was thinking the same thing.
Lawyers got to do better. Yeah.
About what?
Well, I'll show you. Your Honor, permission to approach the witness after showing opposing counsel?
Yes, and what exhibit is this?
This is not an exhibit, Your Honor. It's actually a plea agreement that...
Can Ellen Moody help you with the documents at least? Like hand them to you? Just sitting there, like pick the plea deal off for you.
This witness entered into.
Very well. Show the prosecutor.
May I approach the witness?
Yes, go ahead.
Mr. Ehrman, I just handed you a document. This is your plea agreement, right?
It is.
If you could turn to page 6, section 23, please read to yourself quietly and then look up when you're done.
What am I supposed to be remembering?
Whether or not it's within the sole discretion of the U.S. Attorney's Office to determine whether or not you're telling the truth.
I love that he still has his handcuffs on while he's testifying.
Really committing to the character.
Yeah.
Really studying that paragraph.
I hate impeaching. I know a lot of people think it's an exciting part of the cross, or you really nail the witness when you get an impeachment off, but it's taking time away from your performance to have to go through the impeachment. So even when you get a successful impeachment, it's always frustrating because you didn't plan for it. You didn't want it. I think you wanted the performance, the show more than the impeachment.
Decision making on impeachment is like the toughest. It's hard to teach that.
Yeah.
Because you really can't plan for it. It's hard to plan for it, at least.
Yeah. Man, this guy. Ooh.
Yeah, it says something about like that.
Thank you, Mr. Ehrman. Pass the witness, Your Honor.
Strong end.
It's just a really good cross. I mean, wow. Unbelievable. How did you feel after that? Like, did you feel like you were in control of the round? Did you feel good? At this point, you'd opened and did this cross. So pretty good start.
Yeah, mixed emotions. I think, like I said, it's tough to end on an impeachment. On the other hand, and it was an impeachment by, or it wasn't even an impeachment. It's like a refreshing the recollection more than an impeachment. So to end on it, I think it would have been nice to just get it's within their sole discretion. And I think just watching it back too, I think I could have, I don't know, for better or worse, I could have asked another question when it says something like that. I think I could have asked him, well, it says exactly that.
Right.
And then end on that. But yeah, I felt pretty good about the envelope stuff. Yeah, I think that was probably what I felt strongest about.
I have to ask you about one other thing about this round. This is like super, super nerd.
Yeah, let's do it.
Mock trial lore. So, Ben, do you remember? Obviously, you remember the cross-examination of the D witness in this trial, where the guy like had the wrong copy of the report or whatever it was.
Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah.
You were like reading off of it and he had the wrong one.
Yeah.
Or whatever it was. So like I said, I'd seen this round a ton of times and I had called you both times I went for advice, both years. But the most helpful thing that you did for me indirectly is in the final. I had a witness on the stand and I was impeaching him with his deposition, and I'm starting the impeachment, and he's like, "I got one right here." He pulls it out of his jacket, and if you watch the video, this is the thing I have watched back because it's funny. You can see the look on my face and the wheels turning, and I'm remembering.
Don't do it.
And I was just like, "Actually, we're gonna use mine."
That's right. Yeah, right move.
I owe you some money, is what I'm trying to tell you.
I don't know how familiar folks are with Top Gun, but they changed the case, over the course of the weekend. I think that's where that issue.
That's exactly what happened.
Yeah, he had the day before's version of the deposition. I mean,
I've never been told this by anyone at Baylor. Maybe you guys have a conspiracy theory on this. But I also think the witnesses are either told or there's just a culture at the event to sort of mess around with the competitors, particularly later in the tournament. In all of these rounds, in my round and both of your rounds and others that I've watched, the witnesses do things that are unexpected. More than
I mean, look, like I think that's like part of what's awesome about the tournament is that everybody on the Baylor side is so intimately familiar with the case and like loves the activity so much that they build in all these cool wrinkles. And yeah, I think one of them is like, oh, we're going to have witnesses that mess with you a little bit in the latter rounds. Like, I think that's awesome.
Yeah. It's awesome when you're watching, not when you're.
There's a moment from the second year that I think about probably more than any other moment in mock trials with the priest who talks about the privilege issue. I think there was a priest penitent privilege question in that case that I mean, for sure I hadn't run into that issue all weekend, and then it happens in the final round, and I think they're probably told this is the final round, make it a little complicated for these guys.
So fast forwarding to that round to 16.